and welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs podcast. In this video, let's talk about Drake Maye and his pro day. Well, I am your host, Greg Sykes, along with my co-host, Brandon Scott. And if you're new to this channel, of course, this channel, as you can probably tell, is dedicated to the Washington Football Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure you consider subscribing to this channel. And also, when you do, hit that notification bell because you never know when these videos are going to get released. And with that said, we also have memberships. Consider joining the Washington Football Maniacs. Become a maniac. We hope to put out some good material for members only. And other ways you can support this channel, you can visit our partner, Mint Mobile, and that link will be down in the description. So we're getting into today's video. So this video is about Drake Maye, folks. So Drake Maye, he had his pro day last week, along with, of course, Jaden Daniels. It was one right after the other that we had, and we talked about Jaden Daniels. Both Brandon and myself tend to really like Jaden Daniels a lot, but Brandon, I'm a little, I'm a little partial to this Drake Maye as well. I mean, I watched his pro day, and I thought he had a pretty good pro day. Now he did miss a few of those passes there, but I mean, Jaden Daniels missed some passes too. I thought his arm strength looked really good. His long passes looked really good. I mean, he's athletic. He's definitely not going to be nearly as mobile as Jaden Daniels. But overall, I really enjoyed what I saw. And of course, Adam Peters, Lance Newmark, Dan Quinn, and Cliff Kingsbury was actually there. These believe both of these pro days, but of course, all of them wanted to be there to witness the one and only Drake Maye. I almost said Jaden Daniels, but Brandon, if we had to pick the two, of course, right now, I know you said you would pick Jaden Daniels, but overall, what did you think about Drake Maye's pro day?
I gotta be honest with you. It impressed me. I mean, he's got arm strength out of this world, man. I mean, if you look at his size and his arm strength, I mean, he was throwing a lot of long balls. He's throwing a lot of long balls. Now, obviously, you want to see them, under defense, but he could definitely throw the ball. I mean, I was actually impressed. Like I said, with his build, it just screamed Josh Allen. I mean, a bigger quarterback who a battering ram when he's running. You can definitely the arm strength's there. At times he struggled with accuracy, but not enough to really be a big concern in my opinion. And really, I mean, at number two, I mean, before I get into that, getting more into Drake Maye, the accuracy, like I said, the accuracy, he had his times overthrown a couple passes, underthrown a few, but I mean, Jaden Daniels, he missed some. I mean, I'm sure JJ McCarthy's missed, it is what it is on that front. But the only negatives I see is, well, I guess one negative I had with Jaden Daniels was anticipation of passes, hitting guys when they're about to make that cut as opposed to waiting for them to be wide open. He actually was better with that than Jaden Daniels was. So that's one thing he actually was better at than Jaden Daniels as far as, hitting guys early in the cut in the route. I like that. But with his long ball, man, a little too much air. If you see a couple times the receiver's kind of waiting for the ball to come down, he's definitely got to take a little air off of the ball. Because look, in the NFL, man, those corners and those safeties, they're waiting for that long ball with all that air, and they're going to pick it off. But like I said, overall, really nothing negative. I mean, big fan of Jaden Daniels, bro. Day. I'm a big fan of Drake Maye's, and like I said, at number two, I mean, this is a good spot because you had three legitimate options at number two. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, Drake Maye, and JJ McCarthy. Now, looking at all three, the only edge I think that Jaden Daniels has, honestly, is experience. And the only edge I'm gonna give JJ McCarthy over Drake Maye would be winning big games. That would be the only knock against Drake May because, like I said, from a prospect standpoint, from intangibles and size, he's got it. I mean, he's Josh Allen 2.0. I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, he's just he's definitely gonna be a batting ram. He can throw the ball with accuracy. Is he gonna run the ball like Jaden Daniels? No, but I mean, looking at his stats at UNC, I mean, 2022, 698 yards, which actually led the team in rushing yards. So I don't know how bad a running back situation was going on in North Carolina that year, but he led the team in rushing yards. And then 2023, 449, played 2 less games. So he can definitely tuck the ball and run. So like I said, the only knock I give him his experience because, if you look at Jay Daniels, how many years he played in college as opposed to Drake May, he was behind Sam Howell. He started 2 years, 2022, 2023. And a lot of scouts, a lot of executives saying that, they love him. It's just the thing is, you're going to have to sit him for a year. He's going to have to sit a year or two because just from experience. And the question is, with that, do you trust Marcus Mariota enough to start him for a year, man? And I don't know. Because if you look at Atlanta, it got so bad with Marcus Mariota that they were ready to put Desmond Ritter in there, and that didn't end well. So I think that Mariota at this stage in his career is a stopgap. He's a guy that, if he needs to come in and play, he can. But, we need a guy who's going to be more starter ready. I think that's the only knock is May, man. And it's not to say that I don't think he succeed. I think that Jay Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy could come in and be franchise quarterbacks for the Washington Commanders, man. Easy. It's just, how's the roster built? What's the timeline? And like I said, the fact that they traded Sam Howell, they're looking to have a guy come in and start right away. And that's why I give the edge to Jay Daniels. But, the pro day, very impressed. Very, very impressed. Like I said, he had bouts where he was inaccurate, but the power's there. I mean, he can throw the deep ball, he can throw power, he can throw with accuracy, he can run. So, definitely I would not be mad at all if he was chosen number 2.
And we also, of course, we've got, like you said, Marcus Mariota, Jake Fromm, and Jeff Driscoll, who was just signed this week. And, of course, whichever quarterback that we're going to draft. So we're going to have 4 quarterbacks, I believe. I want to say there's somebody else I'm missing. Who else am I missing? Because that feels like it's 4 quarterbacks that we're going to have coming in camp. And I'll be honest with you, I would really love to see someone like Jake Fromm really excel as a backup. Marcus Mariota, I mean, yeah, kind of quitting on your team. That really, I didn't like that at all. And I really liked Mariota before that. When he was in Tennessee, I thought that he had some talent. And then I don't know, just he just went from basically a guy that you felt like could be a franchise quarterback to suddenly, now he's probably better as a backup or a journeyman type of quarterback, and that seems like what he is turning himself into. But yeah, that's the thing, because if Drake May is the one that gets picked at number 2, he's going to be expected to start right away. I think everybody is pretty much saying, that the rookie quarterback is starting. So it's really going to come down to who has the mental fortitude, because they all have the physical talent. I'm not worried about that. It really comes down to the mental fortitude as to which one of these guys has that mental ability to be able to start right away and take on that amount of stress and leadership. Jaden Daniels, he talked about how that he has always had to take on a leadership role everywhere he's went. And so, I mean, that he said all the good things in his interview. Of course, Drake May's always, a guy that you feel like when you listen to him, you have a lot of confidence. So it's so close. It's so close. But I guess, yeah. Well, you did kind of touch on the fact of who you would trust as far as putting in there right away. But I guess my question would be, if Drake May, let me rephrase it like this. Let's say we do pick Drake May and he's got to start right away. what can the Commanders do? What can Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury do to ensure that they don't just throw him into the fire, that they're able to really, bring them along as slowly as they possibly can, even though they are technically putting them in the fire. But what can they do to help him out?
I'm gonna say left tackle becomes definitely priority number one. You definitely gotta protect his blind side. That has to, I mean, regardless who we pick, we're gonna have to go get a left tackle. So that just definitely be priority number one, regardless who we pick. Before Drake May, like I said, another tight end or two, more safety valves. We got Austin Eckler, so he's definitely gonna be active in the passing situations. And Brian Robinson he's proven that he can pass, even though I think looking at the tandem between him and Eckler's going to be more of passing downs guy as opposed to Brian Robinson being a ground pounder. Just give him more safety valves and protect him. I mean, like I said, don't get it twisted. With any rookie, there's going to be growing pains. I mean, Jaden Daniels is not going to come straight in. And I mean, a lot of people, especially within the fan base, look at RG3 and the success he had early on, but people don't forget behind the scenes, Mike Shanahan had to change a lot around the offense to fit RG3. And there was a lot of growing pains. So there's going to be growing pains with Jaden Daniels. And like I said, Drake May is very close because, I mean, the only thing is Jaden Daniels is more of a dual threat, but Drake May, I mean, like I said, I've watched him in a few games this year in the ACC, but I was very impressed with Pro Day. I mean, he can definitely throw the ball. Now, obviously, you definitely want to see what he can do, with a defense there with some pressure, add more variables to it. But to help him, if he indeed is chosen at number 2, safety valves, more tight ends, like I said, the O-line has to get better. And regardless who's under it, it has to get better. But with a young guy like Drake, just give him every opportunity to succeed, give him a lot of safety valves and definitely put him in positions where he can rely on the talent around him. And that's why I think that, you got to look at receiver in this draft, because right now, you got Terry, you got Jahan, and that's about it, man. No disrespect to the other receivers, but as far as, who you're looking at to be the starting group of receiver, man, you're looking at Jahan. And I made it known that I definitely think that Jahan needs to be a slot guy. And this is a wide receiver heavy draft, so I definitely expect them to get a couple of receivers. So, yeah, I mean, long answer, but I would definitely give him a lot of safety valves and definitely protect him. Left tackle has to happen, and I know that it's pretty much a shoe in that we're going quarterback at 2. There's a lot of good prospects in the second round. I mean, the fact that we have 2 second round picks are key for this team, because you're going to be able to fill 3 immediate needs within the first couple of rounds. So I think that's very important to kind of look at. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would protect him, put some weapons on there, and definitely, if you look at safety valves, definitely utilize Eckler in the passing game. Like we kind of did with Antonio Gibson and Curtis Samuel. Find other ways to get him involved, because I mean, there's times where you can see both Eckler and Brian Robinson on the field. So I definitely think that they can utilize weapons, but definitely go get a tight end or 2. Ertz, no disrespect, but at this stage in his career, what can you really expect from him as a starter? I think we still kind of need to go out there and maybe get another starting caliber tight end, maybe do dual, 2 tight end sets. Those are some things you can do to kind of help out Drake. But the talents of the roof. Like I said, we're going to talk about JJ McCarthy in future video, but Jaden Daniels, watching both Jaden Daniels and Drake May's pro days, I think both of them can come in and be the guy. But the only thing, like I said, with Drake, I think, yeah, he can start right away. But here's the thing, though. When I say sit for a year, it has more to do with his longevity, his career, because not every, do I necessarily really want to throw him to the fire? I think it's best that he sits a year, and I think he'll be all right, man. But could he come in and be the guy? Absolutely. You see the intangibles. I mean, he's a big boy, man. So, I mean, he could definitely, he can handle his weight right, man. He can run, and I'm not too concerned. I mean, because that's the biggest thing with Jaden, me and you were talking about, is that it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum is at Drake May. Jaden's a little tweener, so he's going to have to put some weight on, and he's going to have to find ways to avoid getting hit, where Drake, getting hit, you don't want your guy to get hit, but I'm less concerned with him getting hit. And I say that all due respect. I don't want to get hit, but he can absorb hits, in my opinion, a lot more than Jaden can. And so if he's going to be a dual threat, he's got to learn how to not get hit. But like I said, long answer, Greg, my bad. But I think Drake May, for him to succeed in the DMV, man, give him all the help he can get. Protection and safety valves.
No, I like your answers. I mean, and these were the things that we were talking about last year during the season when Sam Howell was starting. It's like, Give him some safety valves to throw to, let's put a little bit more emphasis on the running game. Let's get the balls to the tight ends a little bit more. And it seemed like everything that we were talking about, keys to the games and things like that, was the exact opposite of what Eric Bieniemy wanted to do. You just want to drop him back like 70-80% of the time. And I don't think you're going to see that. Even though this is the air raid offense, it's really not going to be what you consider a true air raid offense. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on the running game as well, from what I'm seeing. But one last thing I want to kind of talk about with Drake Maye is the fact that a lot of people are scared to death of the helmet. And what am I saying? Basically, what I'm saying is that they have seen the past UNC quarterbacks who are drafted who have not really turned out to be great. Mitchell Trubisky, one of those like that. Of course, Sam Howell. And so now people have it in their heads that if he's a UNC quarterback, he's automatically going to be a bust. And so they are just looking at the color of the helmet and saying no thanks. But, I mean, when you get down to it, you look at a lot of things, and some things that people said was you need to go back and look at Drake Maye's 2022 season to really get a good emphasis on or a better overall outlook of what he can do for you. But then I do understand the argument of, well, if he's all that, then really good star quarterbacks can take a bad team and elevate them. And UNC was not a very good team in 2023, not as good as they were in 22. And Drake Maye's play suffered a little bit. And I mean, he still made some good plays, certainly, but he didn't have as good of a 23 as he did in 22. And so a lot of people are like, well, if he's all that, why didn't he elevate UNC in 23? But then again, the same argument, when you look at it for Jaden Daniels, was he didn't have as good of a 22 season. He had a much better 23 season. But look at who he was throwing to, and things like that. So it's like it's the same argument either way. So I don't think you can really read too much into that. Overall, to me, it is such a close race between Drake Maye and Jaden Daniels. And I think J.J. McCarthy is probably a distant third. Well, no, fourth. I don't know. He's definitely the next after Jaden Daniels and Drake Maye. He's definitely the next best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion. Now, I may change my opinion once I really go back and look at more footage with Penix, or Bo Nix. But J.J. McCarthy, he's in the mix. I tend to feel like, even though that there were a lot of smoke screens put out there the other day saying that the Commanders actually may trade down and get J.J. McCarthy, and yeah, that's certainly in play. I don't see it happening. I think what you'll probably see, they'll probably draft a quarterback at number 2, and then they may try to trade back into the first round to get an offensive tackle. If there's an offensive tackle there and they're able to trade up high enough back into the first round to get that guy. So that's really what I see the Commanders doing. I don't know if I really see them trading down as much anymore because, after seeing the pro days and, of course, some of the film and things like that, honestly, I'm sold on both and I'm not sold on both, meaning there's not a clear-cut winner for me other than to say that I think Jaden Daniels is more dynamic. He's a more dynamic runner. He's exciting. That elbow certainly gives me a little pause. But other than that, I mean, I like him. He seems like a good leader. People want to compare him to RG3, which is crazy. I mean, Unless you're just looking at skin color, I see no similarities between the two at all. Um, I would be happy as a pig, and you know what, if we draft Jaden Daniels. Same way with Drake May. Um, and you bring up an interesting point as far as like, can we, are we able to stand the fact that we may have to start Marcus Mariota in the beginning? And honestly, I think I would be okay with that because I don't think that anybody has any mind or thinking that this Washington Commanders team is going to get into the playoffs. Now, you've heard some predictions like, oh, they're going to win the NFC East. Maybe they do, but I'm not expecting it. I am expecting them to field a much better team, to a much better competitive team. I think they're going to be in every single game. But I actually, um, I know I'm an old head, but I really like the idea of being able to, sit your quarterback, whether if he's in the first round or the seventh round. I like the idea of him being able to sit for a little bit, even if it's for half of the season, until he feels like he's getting that flow. At the same time, I understand he's got to be able to play, and that's the only way he's going to get better is to play. But I think sometimes if you throw these quarterbacks in too early, you don't bring them along correctly, like I think Sam Howell was not brought along correctly, and they kind of ruined him. And I do hope that he succeeds in Seattle. I hope he gets a chance out in Seattle. I still have confidence he could be a good quarterback. Yeah, and I've seen this in the past with Patrick Ramsey. Almost 20, well, over 20 years ago. Same thing happened to him. They put him into the fire and didn't give him a lot of protection. He had the old ball coach who wanted to just throw the football around. It just was a nightmare for Patrick Ramsey. And I just hope that if we do decide to start one of these quarterbacks, that we are doing it in the way that we're going to give him as much help as possible. We're going to be as balanced on offense as possible. We are going to be as deadly and violent as what Joe Witt says on defense to give the offense shorter fields and to give that guy a chance to really flourish. But again, I mean, I'd be okay if he sat maybe the first 3 or 4 games, just to have the season kind of start to get into the flow, kind of see how things are. And then gradually put him in, maybe put him in for a couple of plays or whatever until you feel like, this guy's got it. Let's hand the keys over and see what he can do. And I'd probably say that about either one, honestly, because I don't know. I guess I'm so overprotective because I feel like we have never had any success drafting a quarterback. The last guy that I think we had pretty good success with, well, I mean, we had success with Robert Griffin for a little bit, but Kirk Cousins, honestly, I felt we really had the best success with him. And before then, I feel like you gotta go back to the days of Gus Frerotte. I mean, there's just not a lot of success. So I know this is a new front office, new coaching staff. The big boys, the adults are making the decisions, but I'm still going to be a little nervous about this because this is a very crucial point in the franchise's life to get this right. If you don't get this right, this sets your franchise back several years. And so we have got to get this right. Um, so, yeah, Brandon, to finish up, what else you got?
Not much, man. I mean, you bring up a lot of good points, man. I think the kind of the final thing I want to talk about is it all comes down to fit. It all comes down to fit and what they expect. I mean, from the quarterback is because I mean, look, if you look at JJ McCarthy, I think the reason why he's rising through a lot of draft boards is because if you look at, I mean, he can win big games. I mean, under Harbaugh at University of Michigan, man, it was a pro system. So I mean, him it wouldn't take so long for him to kind of assimilate into a pro system because he was under one in Michigan. So I think that's giving him a leg up to a certain degree because I mean, there's rumors in New England. They're thinking, they're thinking hard about getting him. Minnesota traded up with the possibility of getting him. So, I mean, like I said, you have three very real options at number two. They all have their pluses and minuses. Really going back to Marcus Mariota and sitting behind him, I wouldn't be mad either because here's the thing with our fan base. We both know it. I mean, we go 2-0. Everybody talking about Super Bowl. So, I mean, people, they're very motivated fan base. But here's the thing. We have a little ways to go. Now, do I think that contention is right around the corner? Absolutely. I think we are very close to being a contending team. But, here's the thing. Chemistry is a real thing in sports. People don't look at chemistry. You got to have your core pieces have that chemistry with each other, especially on the defensive and offensive end. I mean, he's got to come in and he's got to build a chemistry with these guys. And, the expectations year one, regardless who it is, I wouldn't place too much expectations as far as playoffs. I mean, to me, the most important part is development. And I'd say that's really NBA because I cover the Wizards, man. And I mean, we're 14-61. So it's been about nothing but development. But I mean, development's a real thing in football. You definitely want your guys to build that chemistry. If you look at him and Terry McLaurin, man, it's going to take time for them to build that chemistry. And that's why I said that, it's not so much a quarterback position because I think that all three can come in and be franchise quarterbacks, in my opinion, easy. And not to say the Bo Nix, because I'm very high on Bo Nix. And I'm not big on Penix too much because of him being a left-handed, a southpaw. And it does matter in football, obviously, because right tackle becomes the priority, man. And, man, Wiley ain't it. So, but it comes down to fit and chemistry. And we need to help Terry out. So I think the best, and it goes back to your question, Greg, how can we help him kind of get his feet wet, become comfortable? Well, showing up to other areas. I think, especially defense, we need a lockdown corner. St. Juice at number one scares me a little bit. They've made a lot of good additions. Obviously, linebacker core looks good. Bobby Wagner, Louvu's going to be a monster. The D line is better, but defense does need to be tweaked a little bit. And defense matters. It's going to help him out a lot. Weapons. I mean, receiving wise, I mean, like I said, Jahan needs to be a slot guy. At his size, we need a guy who's got some size opposite Terry McLaurin. Because in the NFL, you can't have three guys at 6 foot and below. You need a bigger receiver. And I definitely think they need to add a couple of receivers in the draft and definitely help them out, man. Another tight end. So that would be the best way for Drake to succeed, even with Jaden Daniels. Because, with Jaden Daniels, you don't want to put a lot on him so quickly. You don't want him to, be ready to roll every 5 minutes. No, because we saw that, with Sam Howell. I believe that Sam Howell, he just got worn down, man. I mean, he passing so many times, man. He just got worn down. So we need, anybody who gets chosen in number two, how you help them is take a lot of the pressure off of them. Get them in the mode where they can trust everybody around them. I'm gonna make a comparison real quick and we can roll. Anybody remember the Michael Jordan years? Michael Jordan is always that player where he won MVPs, he won these personal accolades, but he could never win a championship. And then what it came down to was he had to rely on the people around him, the John Paxsons, the Steve Kerrs, the B.J. Armstrongs, the Scottie Pippens, and so that's what you need to tell these young guys because, young guy wants to go out there and he wants to make all the plays. They need to learn how to trust the weapons they have. And that's the best way mentally for these young quarterbacks to succeed. Don't feel like you have to do too much. You have weapons. Terry McLaurin is a good weapon. I mean, you got two running backs who both of them could be lead backs. I mean, that's how good, the running back room is. So, protect them, give them some weapons. Any of them will be all right in the DMV. So,
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to end is the fact that rely on the people around you to help you, and because Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are working their hardest to bring in good quality guys, guys who are high character, but guys who can play some ball, and guys who will be able to bring that rookie up slowly and say, look, you don't have to put this team on your back. We're here. You rely on us. We're going to help you out. We're going to make this fun for you. So I agree with you. I think anytime that you start to see a younger quarterback look like that he's got to put on the red cape and fly around and try to do it all himself, he's going to get himself in trouble 100% of the time. And the quarterbacks that you see rely on the people around them are the quarterbacks who eventually figure it out and are able to win Super Bowls. So hopefully, whichever one, if it's Drake May or if it's Jaden Daniels, hopefully either one will be able to be that guy. So we've got about 3 weeks, and then we'll get to actually see. So I can't wait. But folks, we will be covering some more of these quarterbacks in the upcoming videos. But let us know in the comments section below. I know a lot of you folks have already been letting me, know as far as like, oh, it's Jaden Daniels all the way, or it's Drake May, or Drake May is going to be, Trubisky 2.0 and all this stuff. But seriously, let me know why you are in one camp or the other. Let me know what your thoughts were if you really sat down and watched the Drake May Pro Day, because honestly, regardless of who you are pulling for as far as the Commanders to draft, both of the guys had really good pro days, and so that you can't really deny that. So that said, folks, we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Brandon and I will be back to talk about some more quarterbacks. We'll talk about more draft stuff later on. So again, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell, because we have a lot of really good content coming your way. Folks, take care. Brandon and I will see you in the next one.